Hello there, this is Tim Hagen or Vance Desmond, depending what day of the week it is. If it's the weekend, I may be Vance Desmond, but today we're going to talk about how wrestlers put together a professional wrestling match. Now, this is how I personally put together a match, and it doesn't have to be done this way. The thing about professional wrestling is I feel it's an art, just like painting, just like sculpting, just like anything else. So art has leeway for creativity. So when I say that there aren't things that must happen, except for a few situations, there's things that typically should happen because we've tested most of these theories over 100 years of, what gets people excited. Storytelling has kind of always been a certain way, especially with professional wrestling, because it's almost always good guy versus bad guy, or sometimes good guy versus good guy, but almost never will you see a match booked as bad guy versus bad guy. And the reason is, if you want people involved, they have to want someone to win. And if you put two bad guys out there, you're just going to have the crowd just hates this whole thing. They don't want to see any of this. They hope the ring collapses in on all of them and it's over. So what we're going to talk about is, I'll give a scenario that we're given. And this will be similar to many scenarios that I deal with now that I'm a veteran, and especially when I'm a heel. And usually a heel kind of controls the match, and we'll get to more of why a heel controls the match as we go. So the first thing I want to know is when someone, let's say I'm working a young babyface who's on the up, and the promoter plans on making him their heavyweight champion in the next year, or at least they want to. So they bring me in to wrestle this person. So the first thing I'll ask is, what's the point of the match? Because most matches do have a point. Now, in independent wrestling, a lot of times when you go to the show, the point, there's not really a story. It's have a good wrestling match, and that's the point of the match. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially when you don't have the same roster all the time. Sometimes that's all you can do is have a good wrestling match. But let's say the promoter says the point of this match is to make this good guy look like he is a main event contender for their title, we talked about in a year or so. So the things you want to ask the boss is, how much time do we have to tell this story? And what is the ending? And most likely, if they are trying to push this guy to be a main event contender, then let's say he's going to win against a veteran who is like, if his level's here and the veteran's level's here as a heel. Now, what we're trying to do as that heel is bring him up to here, so that he can be a title contender later on. So what I would think about is how there's many ways we can do this, but how can we do this that will match my character and match his character? And we're just going to say this guy is just a what we call a white meat babyface, just a good guy, full of fire, young, up and coming. My character, old angry man who's a veteran, and I'm Violent Vance Desmond. So obviously I want to get myself over too. So the thing that you can do is you worry about your character work as far as making sure people know who you are. So mine is always aggression, a lot of strikes, big impact moves, anger, to show that physically, to speak, to yell at the fans, anger towards your opponent, anger towards the referee, just angry altogether. So there's very, very, very many different ways you can pull this off. So what I would ask, so let's say, let's give ourselves time, let's say 15 minutes. So typically as a heel, you will dominate the majority of the offense. And the reason for that is because you want this crowd to be invested in this good guy coming back to beat you up. So in, I don't want to call it generic, but a typical formula, we'll say, is we want to make the fans realize this babyface is a good wrestler. So what will happen at first is what we call the shine. So the shine will take place near the beginning, where the babyface, we need to let him look good. So he will do a bunch of cool moves. Not a bunch. Let's say he'll do some cool moves, maybe, a minute, maybe 2 minutes worth of offense at the beginning, where the bad guy's just reeling. And then in this particular story, we would say, and then we want what's called a cutoff. And the cutoff would be something, it doesn't have to be dirty, but if you want to maybe get a little bit more hatred from the fans, a little bit more anger, where they think in their mind, if that bad guy hadn't broke the rules or done something cheap, this good guy probably would have won already. So that's going to make the crowd even more frustrated that, hey, the good guy we like is awesome. He's beating this guy up, and then this guy had to do this to get over on this guy. And then what we would start would be called what we call heat. The heat would be just that bad guy getting beat down because of some cheap maneuver. Say, like one of my favorite things to do, I try to do it too often when I'm in especially a new place or haven't done it in a while, I will, is say, good guys beat me up. This is his shine, beat me up. He goes up top for a big move, and I'll take my foot and I'll push the ref in the butt. Now, it's not enough to be a disqualification because I didn't strike the ref. I just kind of nudged him, so he hits the rope, and that causes the babyface to lose his balance. Now, is that illegal? A little bit. I put my hands on the ref, my foot in this situation, put ref, but I didn't strike the ref. I just kind of nudged him, enough to cause him to mess up. Now the good guy has fallen, and I take advantage. And you can do different things. You could have him hurt his leg on this, and so that makes a target on his leg. But let's just say we just trip him. We're not going to work a body part because that's a different story kind of altogether. So he gets hurt, and then as my character, I have to be overly aggressive and just start beating this guy up. Hitting big move after big move, medium move after medium move, because we want to kind of build everything. So you want all your moves at the beginning to be less, and you kind of want it to go up and crescendo till you get to a finish. So I, as the heel, have started beating him up, and every once in a while, you want to stay on. You got to make sure you stay on the fans too. Tell them how great you are, and ref counts slow. You get in the ref's face and tell him that wasn't, a proper count and things like that, where it clearly was. And you're also telling the fans that this guy will do anything to get this one. He does not care who he has to bully, any of that kind of stuff. So then what we do is hope spots. So you kind of want to listen to the crowd to put in your hope spots. I never have a certain amount of moves and then I go, oh, it's been 5 minutes, time for hope. You listen to the crowd, and there's a couple things. If the crowd starts, two different options. The crowd starts to get super dead, and they're just, our good guy's done. He's been beat up so much, we don't care anymore. If you start to even sense that's coming, it's time for hope spot. So the hope spot is exactly what it sounds like. It gives the crowd hope, and there's hope that this guy can beat the heel. So something like he counters something, he ducks a clothesline, comes off the other side, big cross body, he's punching on him. Now, a lot of older school wrestlers don't like baby faces throwing punches. They have to be an open hand punch to not break the rules, because technically a closed fist punch is against the rules. Anymore in wrestling, it doesn't seem to matter as much. Heels throw punches all the time, or baby faces throw punches all the time, and no one seems to care about that. But if you want to be absolutely perfect, a babyface would not throw a closed fist punch. Can a fan tell if a fist is closed or open? Not really. Especially not on TV. So you give him that hope spot, so the crowd will come back up, and they're back invested in this, and they're excited again. So once we have them there, now it's time to cut that babyface back off. So we cut that babyface back off. Dirty you can again if you want. You don't want every cutoff to be dirty, because then you kind of lose credibility as a wrestler. So I don't want every single one of my cutoffs to be dirty. That first one especially is my favorite to be the dirty one, because that kind of set a weak spot. It kind of got to the point where you got to beat him up some. So now he's kind of beat up, and you don't really have to have all your cutoffs dirty, because he's already in trouble. So then it's back on the heel, and we're probably at this point, let's say 7-8 minutes into the match. And hope spots, you can have as many or as few as you want. Something in a 15-minute match, 1 or 2 would typically be what I do. Any more than that, it's almost an even match. You start getting to 3 or 4 hope spots, that's just a back and forth, and that's a 50-50 split. And typically you want the heel to have more. So the split I like, depending on the babyface, is somewhere around 70-30. It can be 80-20, it even can be 90-10. But let's say we're going for like 75-25. We'll go right there. So he gets a few things in there. Looks like he might win. Maybe he even gets like a quick roll up on you. 1, 2, you kick out, and then you cut him off. You go back to the heat. Now, the most important thing for the babyface is the comeback. So this guy's been, and it's a hope spot that goes all the way to the end, builds to your finish. So cutoff may be, there's a few different things you can do. Say as a heel, one of my favorites is I get too confident. I'm beating this guy, and maybe I go up top and go for a big move and he moves out of the way. And the thing that's nice about that is it leaves you a nice clean start for his comeback, because I've crashed and burned, I'm going to stand up, I'm hurting, and I'm right there standing in the middle of the ring for whatever the babyface wants. But there's other ways you can do it as well. There could be, say we're trying to really make this babyface over. So in this story, say we go for, I hit a bunch of big moves on him and I try to pin him. No. I hit another big move. I try to pin him. No. And as the heel, you display frustration, and the crowd's going to think, yeah, we knew he was this good, and you're the one surprised. So you're surprised at how he's kicking out of all these big moves. So then you have to go for something big, and that's your mistake. Or maybe you try to cheat again, and that's your mistake. I like the whole overconfident heel making a mistake, and that mistake can be trying to cheat. It could be trying to go for a big move. It can be trying anything. It could be bullying the ref that causes a mistake, any of those type of things. I don't like bullying the ref as a heel because it almost makes it look like the baby face is taking advantage of a situation, and you don't want it to look like that. He can take advantage of me making a mistake. That's much better story and keeps him more of a pure baby face than if I'm arguing with the heel and he comes over and jumps me from behind. Good guys shouldn't jump someone from behind typically. Now again, this is art. Things change. Characters, what a character would do is different. Stone Cold Steve Austin, when he first became a babyface, would do something like that because he was an anti-hero type babyface. But we're talking about a different kind of babyface. We're talking about a white meat, follow the rules, good guy all the way type of babyface. Think of John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Hogan, those type of guys. So bad guy makes an error. I say I go up top and I go for my big flippy spiral tap, miss, boom, crash and burn. I get up, and now is the babyface's time. This is when the people are like, oh my God, he could do this. And so babyface gets a bunch of his things in, starts beating up the heel. The heel's clearly in trouble. And then usually you would go into your finish. We're probably 12 minutes in now, something like that. So babyface will maybe hit a big finisher, not a finisher, but a big move, 1, 2, kick out. Then the babyface may go for something. Heel may cut him off, go for a big move, 1, 2, kick out. Then the heel goes for another move. Babyface counters, hits a big move, 1, 2, kick out. So now we're taking the fans up and down, up and down. So we've done this a small up and down. Now we've done the heels beating him up, hope spot, heels beating him up, come back, and then we get this at the end where it's no one knows who's going to win at this point is what we're going for. It could be the heel, could be the babyface. This has turned into an even fight. That babyface has come back to prove that he's on the same level as the heel. In this case, say a veteran heel who's a level above him. So now babyface, heel look equal in this fight. It's anybody's game. And then you choose your finish. And that can be, in this type of scenario, I would want to put the babyface come over clean. And what that means is I don't want there to be any question that he beat me. I don't want it to be a roll up, really. I want it to be a resounding finish. I want the babyface to hit whatever his thing is, his big move, his submission, whatever it may be. And there's level to this. Like if you put a babyface over, if you have a babyface beat you and he beat you by submission, that is a bigger win typically in fans' minds and wrestlers' minds and a lot of people's minds, because he didn't just hold you down for 3 seconds. He actually made you say, I'm done, I quit, I give up. So that is a little bit bigger, but a pin is a very good finish. It's the typical finish because if you want this heel to keep some credibility to maybe put over another babyface just like he did today, then you need to kind of save a little bit that he's not completely just destroyed. So a finish with a resounding finisher, that would be the way I would go in something like this. And then and even after the match, the heel needs to lay out. A lot of times you'll have heels say get pinned and then they jump the good guy afterwards to get their heat back, is what we would call that. But I don't want, in this situation, I wouldn't want to get my heat back. This is about the other guy. If you look in say a movie situation, like he's Batman and I'm the Joker, I want to lose at the end of the movie and send the fans home happy. And now also the fact that he's beat me by pin elevates him up, hopefully, higher up the ladder. So is he completely at the veteran heel, has been there a long time yet? Maybe not, but he's definitely a step up. It's something he can say, hey, I beat this guy, so that means I am good. I can beat someone who's appears to be better than me before the match starts. So that kind of gives fans hope next time that he could do it again, and he could do it again. And whenever it's time for the title match, they think, hey, he's beat this heel, who we all thought were above him. And this champion's obviously above him, but he's done it before, he can do it again. So that's the kind of story you would paint in something like that. And typically, at this stage of my career, that's the story I do a lot. The reason why is eventually this is going to end for me, and my end is a lot closer than a lot of other guys. So I don't need to keep any of the stock that I've built up in wrestling. I want to pass that back out because guys did that for me on my way up. That's what made me at a higher level. And so I need to do the same thing. I need to give these victories to deserving babyfaces, not every babyface. There's sometimes you got to get your own stock back. And I've typically been bad at that because I argue to put over people maybe when I shouldn't. But I always want to make sure that no one ever questions that I was willing to do business and do what's best for wrestling in this area, because eventually I'm going to be gone. And hopefully all the stock I built, I've dumped back into the wrestling business so that all these guys get that back so that they can do the same thing as they approach the end of their career. So that's kind of how I look at putting together a basic match. Now, like I said, this is art. That is not in stone. That's just something I like to do. It's something that works. It has worked for forever, and fans can understand. It's simple story. They may not understand that they're seeing a hope spot. They may not understand that they're seeing a comeback. But they understand the emotion, the feeling they get when they see these things, and that's always what our goal is to cause them to have an emotional reaction, especially hate towards the heel, love for the babyface, and appreciation that the babyface was able to do that against all the odds, against cheating, against the guy who's done this longer than them, so that that stock in them rises. So, but that's just a little simple formula. A lot of times how I look at a match, I'll try to do more stuff like this to talk about different other things, because there's, like I said, you can be asked, say you're a painter and you're told, hey, paint a forest, and you give that task to 5 different painters, you're never going to get the same forest. All of them could look great, but none of them will be identical. So that's kind of what we do there. And stay tuned. I'll give a lot more of that kind of stuff, some more workout stuff. So this is Tim /Vance Desmond, Square One Fitness. Talk to you guys later.